we're going to look at some finance applications. Take you back to your personal finance days. So, simple interest formula you've probably seen before. It's principal times rate times time equals the simple interest amount. Your principal P is basically your initial amount that you either put in a bank account or maybe took out in loan. R is your annual interest rate, and T is the amount of time in years. Your units do need to match like the annual interest rate per year and then the time in years. So let's look at Lucky Theodore. He won $250,000 in the lottery, and he wants to invest some money for 6 months and some for 2 years. So he's going to get a couple of bonds and earn a total of about $19,000 interest. How much does he invest at each rate? I like to kind of lay out a table for each of my different accounts, or in this case bonds, and organize things. So I know that if I multiplied principal times rate times time, I would get the interest earned by each bond. So for bond number 1 and 2, let's see. He's investing some for 6 months and some for 2 years. So I'm talking about interest rates in years. My time needs to be in years, so that 6 months is going to be half of a year. And then bond number 2 for 2 years. The 6-month bond has an interest rate of 3.25%, and the 2-year bond has an interest rate of 4.2%. Things that I know, if I put the interest from these two investments together, I'm going to earn $18,950. So the equation I'm going to end up writing basically is going to add up my individual interest amounts that I earned from each bond, and it should equal that total interest amount of about $19,000. So let's calculate those interest amounts from each bond, but first we need to take care of our principal. So we're investing some money for 6 months. I'm just going to call that X, and the rest of it for 2 years. Now, if you think about the rest, that's like all that I have left after I take away the amount that I put in my first account. So it's $250,000, my total amount that I had, minus X, the amount that I put into bond 1. Then I'm going to multiply all of those together to get my expressions for my interest amounts earned from bond 1 and bond 2. Be really super careful with all of your decimal places and making sure you don't write anything down wrong. That's usually what I screw up when I do these, so be extra careful. Once I've got those two expressions for my interest amounts for my bond 1 and bond 2, I know that they should add up to get me my total interest. So I'm going to write my equation that says that, and then I will solve it for X. So combine my like terms, and then I'm going to subtract $21,000 from both sides of my equation. Divide by that ugly, nasty looking decimal there. And I'll end up with X equals approximately $30,258.30. You can round to the nearest penny on all of these when we're talking about money. So that was my amount at 3.25% if you look back in my table. My second amount is $250,000 minus that. So if I take $250,000 minus my $30,000 that I just got, I'm going to get about $219,000 at my 4.2% interest. Alright, this one's a slightly different situation, just a transaction. So Joe bought 2 paintings and then sold them. He made a profit on one and a loss on the other. We know his total profit. Trying to figure out our original prices. So if you think about it, if I take the price that I paid for each painting times the percentage of gain or loss, that's going to give me the amount of money that I earned or lost on each painting. So like if I bought a painting for $10,000, I gained 50% when I sold it, then that means that I made a gain of 50% times $10,000, $5,000. So I'm just gonna organize my information again. So my paintings, I made a 25% profit on the first one, so 25% gain, and a 5% loss on the second one. I'm going to represent the fact that it was a loss by making it a negative 5%. You could make the money amount negative if you'd prefer instead, but I'd rather just go, hey, that's negative 5% loss, and take care of it now. My two amounts, since I'm talking about $200,000 altogether, just going to call the first amount X for painting 1. And for painting 2, spent all the rest of my money, so whatever was left over, $200,000 minus X on that one. And then if I multiply those prices times my percentages, I'll get the amount of money that was earned or lost on each painting. And then to relate this into an equation, I know that the total profit was $20,000. So those two amounts of money should add up to $20,000. So write myself an equation, run through a little bit of solving, combine some like terms to get 0.3x, add 10,000 to both sides, and then divide by 0.3. I'm going to get $100,000 for x, and then for painting 2, if you do $200,000 minus that, you also get $100,000.